Welcome to the CTB channel. I am your host CTB. How's everyone doing today? Last night I got to do a quick review of Avengers Infinity War. I made it a spoiler-free review, but I feel like I want to talk about it a little bit more in depth. First of all, I have to absolutely start with Thanos. To me, this is a Thanos movie. They didn't do it from the perspective of Thanos like I was kind of hoping they did. But they did a really good job of portraying Thanos as a villain. He was a villain, but he wasn't like an evil villain. He was a villain who wanted to do something that was evil, but he was righteous in the way he was doing it. And when I say he was righteous, I mean he believes that's the way it should be. And the way they portrayed and developed the character throughout the whole movie, I thought it was completely awesome. They did a great job. I also like the way Thor was portrayed in this movie. I think he was portrayed overall the best. He was funny, he was dramatic, he was serious. And on a different note, I really want to commend Marvel for what they did with Thor Ragnarok. I don't care if they say it was a reboot or not. That was absolutely a reboot of the Thor character, and it was completely genius. And I'm so glad they did it because in the movies before that, I really didn't care about Thor that much. He was an okay character, but now I absolutely love Thor. He's probably moved up in my top 3 at this point. He was the hero of the movie as far as I'm concerned. Another character that stood out for me that I wasn't expecting was Ebony Maw. I really do think Ebony Maw could have been a main villain in any of these MCU movies. I thought that, in retrospect, I think that would be pretty cool. But he dies in the movie, or at least we think he does. But we'll get into that a little bit more later. Now, the Avengers team was broken down into like little subgroups. And the group that I absolutely loved the most was the combination group of like Tony Stark's crew, him, Spider-Man, and Doctor Strange, and the main separated Guardians of the Galaxy crew with Star-Lord, Mantis, Drax, and Nebula. I think Nebula was there. I'm not 100% sure. I have to watch this movie again. But that combination of that group and them fighting Thanos on his home planet Titan, I thought that was the main standout group in the movie, and that's the part of the movie I enjoyed the most. The biggest standout for me, though, is the movie itself. I thought they did a great job with the presentation. I like how they compartmentalized the subgroups, and the way they put it together was excellent as far as I'm concerned. It was like when I was watching a part of the movie, and in my mind I would think, hey, I wonder what's going on with this certain group right now, and in the movie would just go to that at that point. I feel like they did a excellent job with that. Now, of course, this movie isn't going to be all sunshine and rainbows, so there's going to be some disappointments. Everyone's disappointments are going to be different. My disappointments, though, are pretty much core disappointments that I think everyone is going to have. My main disappointment was Star-Lord. He was just... How can I put this? I don't know. He was like an infant. You would expect after the events of Guardians of the Galaxy and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 that this character would be at a different point. But it seems like he's regressed in this movie. He's like converting back into child mode. I just didn't understand that. And the biggest disappointment, they had Thanos dead to rights. Mantis had him going to sleep. Spider-Man and Iron Man was pulling the gauntlet off, and he had to get all in his feelings and punch Thanos in the face and knock him back into reality. It was disappointing to me. I used to like the Star-Lord character. I don't know if I like Star-Lord anymore after this. Okay, so for everyone who doesn't know who's watching, the Incredible Hulk is one of my absolute favorite characters in all of comic books. And I felt like he was completely underutilized in this movie. The fight he had at the beginning of the movie with Thanos, that was cool because he was initially kicking Thanos' ass, but Thanos eventually overpowered him. I thought that was a really cool scene, but for the rest of the movie, he didn't show up. Basically because I think he was scared. The way he was saying no to Bruce Banner, he was like, "No, I'm not coming out. I'm scared." That's probably gonna come back in the Avengers 4, but that was a big disappointment for me, not getting enough Incredible Hulk and too much Bruce Banner. And my last disappointment in this movie is that the Black Order dies. I really thought it would have been cool that when Thanos won, that they would have been there with him while he was watching the sunset, or was it the sunrise? I don't remember if it was sunrise or sunset. But at the end of the movie, when he's sitting there and he's smiling, I thought it would have been cool for them to all be there. And I don't really understand why he couldn't bring them back, because he has the Infinity Gauntlet. Wouldn't he be able to do that? I don't know. Maybe he will in Avengers 4. We don't know. There were a couple of surprises in this movie that I thought was really cool. The main thing that surprised me the most was seeing the Red Skull in the movie. I was not expecting that at all. I thought that was a good idea, having him being zapped to that planet where the Soul Stone is by the Tesseract in Captain America, the First Avenger. He looked awesome in that robe that he had on, and even though it wasn't Hugo Weaving, I don't think it didn't sound like Hugo Weaving. Another surprise was the location of the Soul Stone itself. I really didn't think it was an interesting location. I thought they would have picked some place more interesting than that. I mean, it was cool that the Red Skull was guarding it and all, but it was surprisingly underwhelming. But the absolute biggest surprise and the most pleasant surprise for me was the ending. I thought the ending was awesome. There's some people that don't like the ending. There are some people that don't understand the ending from what I saw. But for me, the ending was excellent. I think it took a lot of guts to do what they did with the ending. Just having Thanos snap his finger and just people just start disappearing. And they just left the movie with no type of hope of these characters coming back. I mean, of course we know the characters are coming back, but they showed no glimmer of hope that they might come back, which was completely excellent. The only thing that I would say is it was kind of a cop out to have all four of the big Avengers characters, like none of them evaporated at all. I thought that was kind of a cop out. But hey, I can't even complain about that. I thought maybe 3 characters at the most were going to die. We're talking about over 10 characters in this movie from the Avengers crew die. And that's just a complete surprise to me. And I absolutely loved it. And when the movie ended, I'm just sitting in the theater and I'm just looking around and I'm listening to the people in the theater, and there was just complete confusion. I love that. I love that this movie ended in a way that isn't cookie cutter. It showed that the movie had stakes, and they had to pay for those stakes. Even the guy next to me, who I didn't know, because I was at the end, I went with like 10 of my friends, and I was at the end though, and the guy next to me that I didn't know, he's just sitting there like, what the fuck, is that the end? And that alone just made me smile, and I'm just looking around and I'm listening and I'm like, yeah, man, this is cool. And even when we were walking out, we were like standing around talking, and we were walking out, and there's this little kid, and you can just see the tear coming down his eye. And I'm like, oh man, they even showed DC how to be dark and be good. Okay, so with a movie with surprises like this, there's also going to be some questions. So there's just a couple of little questions that I have. I mean, they probably won't end up being anything in the grand scheme of things. Now, my number one question off the top at the beginning of the movie was, where's Valkyrie? What happened to her? Was she one of the Asgardians who died on the ship? And where's Korg and Meek? Like, they weren't depicted at all. They were on the ship. We saw them at the end of Thor Ragnarok. So what happened to him? Now, another question I have, and this is referencing Spider-Man Homecoming, is at the end of the movie, Spider-Man Homecoming, Happy is on the phone talking. I think he's talking to Peter Parker, or he's talking to someone. And he's talking about him moving Tony's equipment from Stark Tower to the Avengers building in upstate New York. and he mentions three main items that he's moving. It was the new Hulkbuster suit, which I think we saw in Avengers Infinity War. But these other two items we didn't see. One that he mentioned was Captain America's prototype shield. We did not see that. And the third thing that he mentioned was Thor's belt. I wish I had it written down, but it has a weird name. But it doubles Thor's power. And as we saw in the movie, Thor was pretty close to beating Thanos. So with this belt on, that could do a lot of damage. And maybe that's how Thor beats Thanos in Avengers 4. But I was wondering if we were going to see that in this movie, and we obviously didn't. So my biggest question is, are we going to see those items in Avengers 4? I can't wait to see if we do. Another quick question I have is, since Black Panther is one of the characters who died, and we didn't see if Shuri died or not, does Shuri become Black Panther? I think that would be awesome. I'm pretty sure that happened in the comic books. So is that going to happen in Avengers 4? I hope so. I think that would be completely awesome. And my last question is, and I hope this happens, are we going to get Mistress Death in Avengers 4? The way this movie ended with Thanos on that planet and he's just sitting there by himself and he's just looking at the sunset and he's smiling. I think it would be a cool way to work her into the movie, with, even if she doesn't appear physically, like he could just hear her voice and they're having an interaction back and forth. I think that would be really cool for Avengers 4, and it probably won't happen. I think the Mistress Death character is a little bit too harsh. Well, I can't even say that now because of the way this movie ended. The ending of this movie was so brutal that I can pretty much expect anything at this point. All right, guys, so that's my thoughts on Avengers Infinity War. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section. Did you enjoy the movie? Did you enjoy the ending? Did you hate the ending? I want to know. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Hit the subscribe button if you enjoyed the video. And just so you guys know, I'm trying to hit the 1,000 subscriber milestone. If I do, I will be having a special giveaway. It'll be a comic book. I'll tell you guys a little bit more about that later in another video. Again, guys, thank you so much. And until the next episode, be cool, everybody. Peace.